Yo, what's up guys, welcome to the channel, and today I'm back again for another karting vlog. So today I'm actually going to be competing in the round 1 of the winter series at Pigeon Raceway IKR round. So today I'm actually going to be competing in a bit of a different kart. So today I'm going to be competing with Attaq Motorsport. Now this is a pretty well known team around the paddock really, so I'm hoping we'll have a pretty decent day. Hopefully it'll go alright. They do give a lot of rain throughout this day, and obviously me never racing in the rain before, it's going to be quite difficult to say the least, and a massive learning curve. So hopefully we'll be able to try and learn something new with this team. But yeah, I guess we'll just see how it goes and see what we get up to, and we will jump straight into it then and see how it goes then. Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are actually at Pigeon Raceway, and I'm actually going to be competing in the round 1 of the winter series of the IKR championship. So today I'm actually going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm actually racing for Attaq Motorsport team. I've hired out one of their karts for today, so I have no clue how it's going to go. Hopefully it'll go pretty well. I'm literally just arrived, just in my car right now. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it's like working within a team, and also having to, you know, sort of just concentrate more on the driving than having to do a little bit of mechanics as well, as we do have a designated mechanic on our team. So yeah, it'll be very good to say the least, but I'm actually going to go and just meet the team right now, so I'll catch back with you guys in a second, and hopefully we'll have a pretty good day. Let's do this. Right boys, we're literally just about to go out for practice with the team. That's my car sitting behind there. Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. Just watching the juniors go around. It gets rain later, so I have no clue how this is going to go personally. Hopefully okay. I'm not very good in the wet, so I don't really know, but yeah, I guess we'll see. So we're actually like right around where the final corner is, where the entrance is, so yeah, it's pretty good. Here's the car, all ready to go. So I guess let's do this. So here we go for the first practice session then. So we only get one practice session, which is in the morning, so I've really got to try and learn this kart quickly. As you can see, we had a bit of problems getting the kart started. It was quite cold this day, and the kart hadn't been run all day, so yeah, it was obviously going to be a little bit cold. So we go out on track then, obviously on the wets, as it does still look kind of damp. It is drying up pretty quickly. A couple people did go out on the slicks, including my teammate Liam and also Patrick in LPR. So yeah, you will see the slicks aren't quite working yet, but I think it could dry up pretty quickly as we head down in towards the hairpin for the first time then, just take it nice and easy, trying to get used to this car and try and get used to driving in the wet conditions here. I think it's going to be twice as difficult for me on this day, as obviously I've not really driven much laps in the wet at clay, and also I've never driven this car before, so I've really got to try and learn two things at once. As you can see here, here's the slick runners and Patrick just struggling a little bit on practice, and then also Liam, my teammate, just ahead, obviously on the slicks as well. So yeah, I think it can be slicks if you just take it nice and easy, and to be fair, it's pretty good practice driving on slicks in pretty damp conditions on a damp track. Really gets you used to kart control, but nevertheless we carry on very nicely, and we just try and, well, keep the tyres cool, as obviously it is, well, pretty dry. It's not exactly wet, there's not puddles everywhere, it's drying pretty quickly, but nevertheless so we are going to cut on to a couple laps later then, as we head down towards the hairpin once again. And you've seen this in the intro, I hit the brakes, end up spinning right around. I think what happened there was the fact that I hit the brake quite hard and then just kept the brake down, which obviously just locked the rears and kept it locked up and just spun it straight around. As we'll get a slow motion replay here, as you can hear the tyres screeching as I'm holding the brake all the way around. Really, I should have tried to release the brake. I know it's quite scary to do, but I should have tried that and try and catch a kart instead of holding the brake and completely locking up. Nevertheless so, we carried on, and I decided to come in a little bit early just to try and see my progress and see what lap times I was doing. Also, it felt like I was struggling quite a bit for traction out of corners, so I wanted to just come in, see what I was doing wrong, and see if I can get any advice from the mechanics in the team. But now I'm going to let you listen to the raw footage audio and listen to me and Max talking about my progress and lap time.
Good? Yeah, we're running P4 at the moment. Oh, that was your last lap. You're doing that. Oh. 43. Oh, just dropped down. 43.3. Yeah. So we're about 2.5 seconds off the pole, but don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
I mean, there's still some more time if you want to put some more laps in.
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 2.5 minutes, so.
So yeah, as you heard there, I was actually in P4 and just dropped down to P5 just as I came in there. I decided to go back out as obviously there was still some more time and I just wanted to see if I can improve a little bit. Obviously you heard that I was like 2.5 seconds off first, which is pretty bad to say the least, but bearing in mind it's my first time in the wet at Clay and the first time in this kart, I thought, you know what, it's not too bad, and I guess I just have to go back out and do as much practice as I can, try and get as much track time as I can. So yeah, I tried to push it a little bit more this time when I came out. I still struggled, I didn't really improve that much. I still stayed P6, so I didn't really, well, move down too much more. And again, we caught back up to my teammate who's still on the slicks. Yeah, just showing that it's definitely still not slicks, as he is definitely a lot better than me, so I would definitely not be overtaking him that easily if that was the case. But nevertheless, so we carried on and managed to come home and finish the practice session. So now I guess we will come into the pits, try and go through where I can do a little bit better and try and learn some new lines and see where we can go from there then. So here we go for qualifying then, and now this is where it gets interesting. As you can see, I'm actually on wets. Everyone else is actually on slicks except me, my teammate and another guy, so 3 of us are still on wets. Now we mainly picked wets just for the fact that everywhere else was dry, the whole track was dry except the straight a little bit and also the hairpin. The hairpin still looked quite damp. As you can see there, someone spun it around, so we decided to risk it for the wets whilst everyone pretty much risked it for slicks, and see how it goes as we head down in towards the hairpin for the first time then. As you can see, all the slicks who go into the hairpin struggle so much, and we managed to actually just make it nicely around one of the slick runners there. So yeah, like I said, everywhere was dry except the hairpin really, so I really thought maybe we could have a shot at this, and after, well, 2 laps of having that issue, I was thinking, damn, we could actually be in a pretty decent position. And probably 4 or 5 laps in, we were actually running P3, my teammate was running P2, so we actually felt like we were going to have a pretty decent result here. As you can see, a lot of people struggling. One of LPR drivers in the barrier there on the straight, like I said, the straight being one of the damp patches, so really got to watch out down the straight for the slick runners and into the hairpin. As we head into the hairpin once again then, as you can see, he goes completely off wide, 2 people go off wide and we get past both of them. Just showing that the wets are working in that hairpin section. I feel like if you're on the slicks at the moment, it's going to lose you so much time in that hairpin, but I feel like it can dry up quickly. This is where I was, well, getting pretty hyped because a couple people were actually cheering me on and actually noticed I was actually running P3, so I was pretty hyped at this point, thinking that maybe I could have a shout for a good qualifying result. But I kept pushing on, but I did know that I would completely destroy my wets and overheat them, the fact that I'm completely pushing this hard on the dry surfaces. But obviously that was the risk I was willing to take. Obviously I knew that I was, well, running quite high up after the fact that everyone else is going off on the slicks into that hairpin section, even in the horseshoe now. As we head down towards the start finish straight once again as we start the next lap, and we were feeling like that maybe the slick runners were actually going to start chasing us down now, but after I came down in towards the hairpin once again, noticing that again the slick runners are still struggling in that hairpin section, maybe there is still a chance that we could have a good shout. As you can see, Henry in the LPR there just getting a pretty terrible exit out of the hairpin as we go right around the outside of him in towards the horseshoe section, and now we're catching down another guy who's just ahead of us, who actually ended up getting pole at the end of the session. As we go down the start finish straight once again, try and keep as close as possible to him. And I was, well, again, I was going to struggle through this first sector against him. Obviously him being on the slicks and this sector being completely dry. The hairpin was the only shout that I really had of getting a pretty decent result and getting a good launch out of. As you see, we go completely wide there, nearly destroy the car in the barrier. As you can see, the guy ends up going completely off track and hitting the barrier in the hairpin. So at this point it's still looking like it's wets, but it's just going to completely destroy our wets at the moment. As you see, another guy going off there, as we start our fastest lap attempt then, as we head down towards turn 1, tuck it in very nice and tight, and hit the curbs very nicely through the S's, hit the curbs very nicely once again, run out nice and wide, not as wide as I did last time luckily, as we head down towards the hairpin section once again, taking a bit of a wet line there but still getting a pretty decent exit. As we head down towards the horseshoe section, try and keep it as nice and tight as possible because it's pretty much dry through that section now, and again through the sweeping right hander very nicely. Now around the final corner, as you notice, we get a massive kick of oversteer there, just showing how much the tyres are starting to overheat now, as that is our fastest lap attempt there. At this point I was really struggling with the tyre attempts, as I was just oversteering everywhere I was going, especially around the final corner. You'll notice as we come up to the final corner now, as I turn into the corner, completely get a massive amount of oversteer, completely miss the racing line and go so far wide. So I was noticing that the slick runners were actually starting to catch me up now, even in the hairpin, so I was gonna, well, have to pull in at this point because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do anything else. So I pulled into the pits. As you can see, one of the slick runners was right behind me, catching me down, so there was no way I was going to be able to do anything else, and sadly that meant that we actually dropped down to P9. From taking a gamble on the wets and being in P3 for quite a while to being P9 is a massive disappointment, but we went for the gamble and I can't complain too much because I chose it. So yeah, it was a pretty decent qualifying, but bearing in mind what it could have been if the gamble worked, it's a bit of a shame. But now we'll head back into the pits. Alright boys, we just finished qualifying. Qualifying was pretty interesting. Obviously as you saw in the hairpin, it was definitely still wet, which is what I was on. So I was feeling really confident. I actually went in 2 and 3 right at the beginning of the session. So I felt like we were going to have a good one there, but it dried up so much. I noticed the driver was catching me, even had a little bit of contact there, so had to watch out for that. But yeah, I'm not quite sure where I put qualified. I'll put it down on the screen now. Yeah, this car is feeling amazing, and the wets felt great at the beginning. I thought we were going to have a really good result there, but sadly not quite. We actually just put some tape on the radiator box just for the fact that keep more air out. It's quite a cold day today. So yeah, I guess now we will get ready for Heat 1 and see how it goes then. So here we go for Heat 1 then. As you can see, everyone is back on the wets because the heavens decided to open up and absolutely chuck it down between qualifying and Heat 1. So it is definitely wet conditions again now. As you can see, you may notice that for whatever reason the GoPro is not very stable and vibrating like I don't know what. For some reason the option to stabilise the camera footage just disabled itself for this one. So sadly this is what it kind of looks like for Heat 1. I did fix it for the pre-final and final, but sadly for this one it's going to look like this for the whole race. I apologise about that massively. But I guess now we will cut onto the start of the race then, as it is green lights here. We get an absolutely dreadful start and, well, head down the start finish straight, hoping that maybe we can try and, well, do a little bit better on this first lap out of that, well, terrible start that we had. As you can see here, we got overtaken around the outside, but we're going to try and go back down the inside in towards the S's section and try and keep it, but sadly he just manages to get past me as my teammate goes a little bit wide there on the curb and loses the back end. We get around him around the outside. Now we're going to try and take a bit of a wet line in towards the hairpin section, try and get a good exit, but sadly go a little bit wide there, which is not ideal to say the least. Nevertheless, so we try and keep on the back of these guys. As you can see, it's not exactly wet, it's kind of still damp. It shut it down a little bit but didn't make it like completely torrential, as we're going to try and go around the outside here off the 63. Don't quite make that work, but go down the inside of the 120 of Henry in LPR there and make the move very nicely on him. He kind of struggled in the wet throughout the day, but so did I, to be honest, so it was just very difficult to try and get used to the wet conditions on this day, especially in this kart as well. I didn't really understand wet lines and understand what I had to try and do with the braking points, but nevertheless I was trying to hold with people and try and keep with people, see what they were doing and see where I can try and capitalise on that and see where maybe they're doing a little bit better than me and try and follow that. But nevertheless, so we're trying to battle these guys just up ahead here. The 63 clearly showing some incredible lines there, which I don't really take on board and don't really follow, which is a bit annoying, bearing in mind that I should have. So as we head down the start finish straight then for the first time of the race then, as you see he goes right around the outside of him through the kink section and make the move stick very nicely. we try and take the racing line here through there, and it seemed to have worked very nicely through turn 1. But now as we head in towards the S's, this is one of the sections I really struggled with. As you can see, he gets a massively better exit than me. The hairpin I actually really liked in the wet. I found that taking quite a wide line actually helped massively. As you can see there, I did not take that wide line and lost a little bit of time, but I realised after this race that maybe the wide line through that hairpin is the right one. So again, I was taking the racing line way too much, which is obviously not a good thing because that's where the corporate karts go and where all the rubber is, so you want to try and be on the most grippiest part of the track. As you can see, we actually lost loads of time to him because we were just trying to follow the racing line and not actually pick our own line and the wet line and try and find the driest part of the track, which is a bit of a shame as the race was kind of boring and not much really happened. So we actually ended up coming home in P10, so we actually shipped the position, which isn't ideal, but for my first time in the wet in a race at Clay, I guess I can't complain too much. But now we'll head into the pits and get ready for the pre-final then. So now we're going to jump straight into the pre-final. I apologise that I didn't actually vlog a lot between Heat 1 and the final. I mainly was trying to concentrate on, well, where I can improve and do better, because obviously that's what you kind of need to do in the rain. As you can see here, it did chuck it down a lot more between Heat 1 and the pre-final. That's kind of how really the day went, it just chucked it down more and more. But now it's green lights here for the pre-final at Clay Pigeon Raceway. As you can see, we get a little bit of a better start than what we did last time. We didn't actually lose any positions in towards turn 1. Actually, we're going to try and go around the outside of here, of the kart 4 here. Don't quite make the move stick, but nevertheless so we're still all over the back of him, so there's still a chance to do a move. As you can see here, it is so blinding with the spray getting shut up at you. As we try and take a little bit of a wider line here, actually get pushed a little bit behind by someone, so that wasn't an ideal situation. As we head in towards the horseshoe, this time taking a wide line there, taking it quite tight on the exit though, which isn't ideal. I learned through that sweeping right-hander you need to go a little bit wider there, and through here I decided to try and take a really wide line, which actually did not work at all. Which is not ideal to say the least. I definitely think it works better than what I was doing before, but yeah, it didn't work at all compared to what my teammate did. As you can see, flew past me around the outside there off the kink section because of his good exit out of the final corner. Through the S's, I was actually trying to avoid the curbs, thinking that the curbs would actually ruin me a little bit and push me offline, but actually it's actually better to run the curbs more, so I probably should have been hitting the curbs a lot more than what I was, but nevertheless, it was a learning curve of a day. I was just trying to find the most grippiest part for me off the track, and for me it felt like it was taking a really wide line and avoiding the curbs. As you can see here, I was even trying to avoid the pit lane line, as obviously that would be quite slippery, but it's clearly not working. As you can see, we're losing lots and lots of time. We still got a couple people behind us. There was actually 14 people raced on the day. As you can see, Patrick just gets past us there, and we actually move down to P10. We try and battle back here with him, but sadly don't quite make it work, as he goes very nicely in towards the next corner there, as we're trying to defend off another guy who's just behind us. We're trying our best here, but obviously it's not quite working out for me, and I'm struggling so much with traction out of corners. That's the main part I was really struggling with, was the traction out of the corners. Like, my entrance into the corners wasn't too bad, but on the exits, every time I got on the power, the rear wheels just spun up, so I could not do anything out of the corners. But as you see, getting a massive amount of spray from Patrick just ahead there, trying to take a very wide line in towards turn 1, which seems to have worked very nicely for this one. Like I said, it just got heavier and heavier throughout the day, so the lines from Heat 1 kinda wouldn't really work in this one, so I had to change again. As you can see, we tried hitting the curb on the final corner, ended up spinning right around, and that completely ruined my race, and I actually ended up in P12 after that one, which is a bit of a shame to say the least, because I could have probably finished P11 at best. But I guess shipping one position isn't going to hurt too much in the final. As you see, got a, well, onboard inside helmet camera replay, and yeah, it was just a bit of an embarrassment, especially that it was right in front of where Attaq is based, so they were all having a bit of a laugh about it. But we come home in P12 then. Sadly, not a very good day, bearing in mind we started P10, so we shipped 2 positions in that one, which is a bit of a shame to say the least. But I guess now we head back into the pits, see if we can try and pick up any more tips and advice from the team, and maybe hopefully have a bit of a better final. So here we go for the final then, jumping in the kart for the final time then. As you can see, Aiden, one of the junior drivers who actually ended up finishing P3 in the final, massive shout to him, wanted to try and get in the video a bit. So yeah, this is actually the worst race of the day. As you can see, it's a lot more heavier rain than what it was in the pre-final. So yeah, I know this is going to be an absolute shambles as soon as I get out on track for the formation lap. Nevertheless, so we go green here at Pigeon Raceway for the final. As you can see, they're getting a lot more better of a start than the first 2 races as we try and attack Patrick straight away. Really struggling to get on the traction though, out of the corners there. I probably should have just been a little bit more risky into turn 1, but I tried to play it safe because obviously it's not my car and I don't want to end up damaging it completely. So yeah, I wanted to try and finish this race and get as much practice in the wet as possible, taking a wet line that actually seeming like it actually worked very nicely there against Patrick, but still struggling to try and find grip out of the corner. Like I said, into the corner I was okay, it was out of the corner where I was really struggling mostly. Nevertheless, so we're still all over the back of Patrick, trying to keep with him. Patrick's a lot more better in the wet than me, so I was trying to use his lines as a bit of a pointer and see where I was going wrong and see where I can improve massively. As we head in towards turn 1 there, as you can see, he goes a little bit wide there, so maybe my line in towards turn 1 could be a little bit better, but into the S's was where I was really struggling. As you can see, he gets a much better exit out of there compared to me. Now we're going to switch over to the inside helmet cam. As you can see, just coming out of the pit lane now, getting a bit of a replay of the formation lap and lap 1. I did actually have my blacked out visor in this day. I really wish I wore my clear visor because as you can see, coming out of the pits and in towards the lap 1 now, start of the race, there's so much spray and I could barely see a thing throughout the first few laps following people. This is actually the wettest conditions I've ever raced in a practice session, and obviously the first ever time I've raced in the wet, so I didn't really know what it was like racing in the wet behind people and getting spray chucked up at you, so I thought a blacked out visor would be okay. I never realised how much it blinds you and how much you can barely see, so I definitely need to chuck on my clear visor whenever it rains from now on, because like I said, I really struggled to actually have my vision throughout this race, especially with how much it was raining. But nevertheless, so we're trying our best to keep up. As you can see, we head down the start from the straight. The straight was where it really got bad because there was so much spray on the straight following Patrick down towards turn 1 and trying to find the braking point in towards turn 1 as we head in towards turn 1 once again. Yeah, I really need to watch out with the clear visor, like I said, and not to use a dark visor for the wet and when it especially gets quite dark like it is today. As we switch back over to the radiator box camera now, as we're still following Patrick, still struggling though, still trying to find grip around the exit of the corners. Nevertheless, so I'm trying my best, trying to do what I can. As you can see, I had someone around my outside there, so I had to try and take a bit of a tight line, and actually ended up losing a lot more time than what I thought there. As we come out of the final corner, try and go down the start from the straight once again, I realised I had to try and hit this inside curb here, which is kind of what I was trying to do, but really struggled as someone sends it down the inside of me there. I try and go down the inside of him again and make the move stick back on him. Really this day and this race was more about defending than attacking, because I knew I had no pace in the wet, so I was just trying to concentrate on defending. As you can see, the guy goes right around the outside of me very nicely, makes a move stick, and that's me down another position, which isn't ideal, but I did make a couple positions at the beginning of the race due to a few people spinning off. But I knew this race was going to be very difficult for me to try and attack people, so like I said, it was mainly about defending for me in this race especially. And we're actually going to cut on to a couple laps later when the guy behind me tries to attack me even more. He's all over the rear of me here, where I'm really trying to struggle to try and find grip. As you can see, I'm still taking this outside line. I don't want to take the inside line and hit the curb and spin off like I did in the pre-final and lose a couple positions, so I was trying to attack massively the outside line. As you can see here, trying to take a wide line through the first corner once again and get a terrible exit out of the S's there, and this gives the guy behind me a massive opportunity. I try and take the puddles here to try and cool the tyres down a bit, as I feel like maybe they're overheating a little bit. The guy flings it down inside of me into the hairpin. Obviously we take the wide line, get a very nice exit on the outside and keep the position very nicely. So I knew the guy was attacking me and all over the back of me, so I really had to watch out for that and just try my best to defend and try and take as much wet lines as I could and try and find the most grippiest part of the track as I could. We're actually going to cut onto a replay from the inside helmet cam now as we head out of the S's down towards the hairpin, obviously taking the puddle there as he flings it down inside of me, and obviously I just keep my calm, don't try and go around the outside of him, take it very nice, cut back on him and keep the move just on him. So yeah, that was pretty much the only thing that interesting happened in this race. Other than that, I was just going around trying my best to try and find some wet lines, try and find grip on the track where obviously I couldn't. So yeah, now we're going to cut back on to the radiator box cam as we head down towards the hairpin once again, taking a very nice line through the hairpin, just showing that I was improving a little bit throughout the day. Now we're going to head around to the final corner then, where I'm going to come home and finish in a P10. So we actually made a couple of positions, which isn't too bad to say the least. Not the most best of races in my career to say the least, but obviously first time racing the wet, I had no clue what I was doing. I just had to see what I can do. And yeah, that ended up with the final finishing in P10 out of 14, so can't complain too much. But yeah, now we'll head back into the pits and that rounds off the day then. Alright boys, so we've just finished the final. It's been a bit of a difficult day. First time ever actually in wet conditions like clay really, unexperienced. Yeah, don't really know how I could have done better. I tried. It started going a little bit better at the end of the final, but still a struggle. We're just actually watching the 177s going around right now. So yeah, interesting day. I guess that's it though. We're just getting the car packed up now, getting it all packed away, and yeah. Right boys, so we're literally, well, just finished our day. I didn't actually have to pack up. Massive shout out to Attaq Motorsport, absolute legend. As you can see, it is super dark already, and it's only like 4 o'clock, so yeah, it's kind of lucky it's kind of lucky we didn't stop for a break, because that would have made it completely dark if we actually stopped for a lunch break. So yeah, we carried on. Obviously the final was a bit hectic to say the least. Obviously it was like completely wet at this point. Obviously today was my first ever time actually racing in wet conditions ever. I haven't done much practice in the wet at clay to start with, so I knew today wasn't going to go 100% well, but I tried my best to give it my best shot. Massive shout out, like I said, to Attaq Motorsport. They definitely helped with driver coaching and definitely helped with the mechanic side and helping me have a pretty decent day. Obviously I knew it was all down to me. I had to do something about it, but I couldn't perform today. Wet conditions are definitely not my conditions. I definitely need to practice a lot more in them. But yeah, I guess I'm going to leave this video here though. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like and subscribe. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.